Today, in a New York federal courtroom, Sean Diddy Combs told the judge he was, quote, a little nervous. The rap mogul's criminal trial began this morning. He is sex trafficking, racketeering, and more. The two sides are now in the process of selecting a jury of 12 plus alternates.
As one of the most talented actors in Hollywood, a respected artist whose name was associated with success at the box office. Today, his name is associated with a lie.
Have a member of the team going through the social media of these jurors, making sure they didn't do anything. I mean, how much research can you do in terms of, did they search for something? Did they say something? I always am curious about that because you come into court the next day and you always hear a prosecutor or defense attorney say, court, we have an issue we would like to bring to your attention. Juror number 5 was looking, it's like, how did they find that out? Is that what happens?
Well, it is in a high stakes case like this. I mean, as you know, not all clients have the resources to hire, jury consultants and to hire investigators. But in this case, you have a defendant who's, who could theoretically be sentenced to life in prison, who has the means. So I'm sure, or I would think that his counsel have a team of investigators following the jurors around to the extent they can and looking for any electronic footprint.
Now, I mentioned before how can you believe the jurors? How do you know they're telling the truth? Well, I'll tell you what we've seen so far in the Combs jury selection process, you have what seems to be a lot of honesty, okay? Because you had one prospective juror who told the court that she had been sexually assaulted as a teenager, and that if the defense brings up at trial that, look, these alleged victims didn't report what they say happened to them, this juror indicated they would understand why.
Things are really heating up in Diddy's high-profile court case, and the tension is palpable as jury selection enters its third day. From the prosecutors to Diddy's elite team of attorneys, everyone is on edge. But what really turned up the heat is the judge bringing in a very familiar face. Ben Chu, the renowned lawyer who helped Johnny Depp secure his victory in his monumental defamation case against Amber Heard. The fact that Chu is now involved in this case is sending shockwaves through the courtroom, and Diddy's legal team is feeling the pressure. Over the first 2 days, a staggering 167 potential jurors were brought in to determine who would serve on the jury for this case. Out of that initial group, 49 were dismissed outright for various reasons, while the remaining candidates faced a grueling series of questions, 100 yes or no questions designed to gauge their biases and backgrounds. A lot of the questions focused on how jurors consume news and how they feel about Diddy as a person. Some were candid about their dislike for the music mogul, while others admitted they weren't sure if they could remain impartial throughout the trial. By the end of the third day, the pool was narrowed down to just 35 potential jurors. The group is incredibly diverse, spanning various age ranges and professions. Some of the candidates work in design, social work, medicine, and manufacturing. Others come from vastly different walks of life. And one thing that stands out, however, is the wide array of sources from which these jurors get their news: social media, YouTube, and even traditional newspapers. This diversity could play a significant role in how the jury might lean, especially with so many famous personalities already taking sides in the case, which only increases the risk of bias creeping into their decisions. One example of how the jury might be influenced is Dr. Umar, who has been vocal in his opinions about Diddy's legal battles. The fact that high-profile figures like him have publicly spoken out is making it harder to find unbiased jurors who can truly separate their personal opinions from the evidence presented in court. The stakes in this case couldn't be higher. Diddy is facing 5 serious federal charges, and prosecutors have accused him of running a criminal operation involving sex, drugs, and potentially other illicit activities. Adding fuel to the fire, there are reports that his ex-girlfriend Cassie Ventura might even take the stand to testify against him. If the prosecution's case holds up, Diddy could be looking at a life sentence in prison, and the impact of this trial could reverberate throughout his career and the entertainment industry at large. This is where Ben Chu, who's been brought in as an expert on jury selection, becomes crucial. Ben, who's known for his strategic approach to high-stakes celebrity trials, shared his insights on the complexities of selecting a jury when a famous figure like Diddy is involved. According to Ben, one of the biggest challenges in this case is that jurors often feel excited about being part of a celebrity trial, thinking it's their chance to be part of something monumental. However, this time, the situation is different. Unlike the Johnny Depp defamation case, which was about reputation and damage control, Diddy's trial is a criminal one. The charges are serious and the evidence could be disturbing for many jurors. That means instead of raising their hands to join in on the excitement, potential jurors may be hesitating because of the dark and gritty nature of the case. As Diddy faces the reality of the situation, reports indicate that he's nervous about how the jury selection is playing out. Ben Chu also shared his thoughts on what kind of jurors might be most beneficial for Diddy's defense. He suggested that younger jurors, people who are open-minded, and those who are not easily shocked by disturbing details, might be more favorable for the defense. Interestingly, Ben also noted that men could be a stronger fit for the jury, not because women can't be fair, but because some of the details in the case might be too upsetting for female jurors to remain unbiased. But the real drama began when Diddy's legal team apparently had a major issue with the judge's decision to bring in Ben Chu to discuss jury selection. Sources say that behind the scenes, Diddy was furious. His team wasn't prepared for this move, and Diddy feels that having a lawyer with such high-profile celebrity trial experience involved could completely alter the trajectory of the case. The reality is, the composition of the jury is crucial. Who gets selected could make all the difference in whether Diddy walks away free or is convicted. As Friday rolls around, the next phase of jury selection begins. Both the prosecution and the defense will be able to use their preemptory challenges. This allows them to remove certain jurors without needing to explain why. However, there are limitations. These challenges can't be used for discriminatory reasons based on race or gender. If the judge senses that either side is attempting to exclude jurors for these reasons, they can intervene and stop the process. Already there's been some controversy surrounding the challenges. One potential juror was dismissed after revealing they worked at HBO, which recently aired a documentary about Diddy. Another was allowed to stay on the jury despite not mentioning their connection to the Legal Aid Society, which provides criminal defense services. The judge deemed their answers satisfactory, but it shows just how delicate this process is. Ben Chu has emphasized how crucial this next stage of jury selection is for Diddy. He pointed out that the jury's composition could have a major impact on the trial's outcome. The defense is looking to ensure that the final group of jurors will be able to hear the full scope of the evidence without becoming too emotionally involved or judgmental. But as the process unfolds, one thing is clear: the pressure is mounting for everyone involved, and every decision made from here on out could change the course of this case. This trial is shaping up to be a battle not just for Diddy's freedom, but for the public perception of his legacy. And with so many high-profile figures and twists involved, it's hard to predict what will happen next. The clock is ticking, and Diddy's fate is now in the hands of a jury that's still being carefully selected. This is a case that will surely keep everyone on the edge of their seats. Last year, CNN aired a full security video from a hotel that showed Diddy in a violent altercation with his ex-girlfriend, singer Cassie Ventura, dating back to 2016. Following the release of the footage, Diddy issued an apology for his actions. Given the high-profile nature of this case, the jury's identities are being kept anonymous for their safety, to protect them from potential threats or harassment. Prosecutors are arguing that this hotel video is just one example of Diddy's long-standing pattern of using fear, violence, and control over women for over 2 decades. They allege that Diddy forced women to participate in what he called freak-offs, drug-filled sex parties that involved male sex workers. According to the prosecution, the women involved had no real choice but to comply with Diddy's demands. The official charges against him claim that Diddy used his celebrity and business influence to organize and direct these parties, sometimes even filming them without the women's consent. The events were allegedly so extreme that they would sometimes go on for days, involving numerous people. In recent revelations, Chopper, an insider, shed light on some truly disturbing activities that reportedly occurred at these parties. Among these unsettling details, Chopper mentioned Diddy allegedly owning a collection of 10-inch sex toys for personal use, as well as attempting to make advances on an MTV cameraman, making the man so uncomfortable that he ultimately quit the company. It's also said that Diddy would provide drugs like GHB and magic mushrooms to fuel the parties. Women were expected to go along with everything, and after the events, IV fluids were reportedly administered to help them recover from the exhaustion. The charges also paint a disturbing picture of Diddy using even more violent tactics, including firearms, kidnappings, and even setting fires to maintain control over his victims. One of the key victims in these allegations, referred to as Victim 1, is believed to be Cassie Ventura. In a particularly shocking incident, Diddy was reportedly captured on video in a hotel hallway in Los Angeles in 2016, hitting, kicking, and even throwing a vase at her. Stevie J, a well-known figure in the music industry, later claimed that Diddy was under the influence of drugs during the altercation. Another disturbing story in the court documents describes Diddy allegedly holding a woman over the edge of a balcony during an argument, adding to the chilling nature of these accusations. As the trial approaches, many are left wondering how this case will ultimately play out. Will Diddy manage to clear his name, or will the evidence against him be too overwhelming? The stakes are incredibly high, and the world is watching closely. What are your thoughts on this case? Let us know in the comments.